On today's episode, we welcome a special guest, Mike Mazzola, the owner of Mazzola Tech. Mike, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, what made you start your tech business on your part, and what inspired you to launch this business?
That's a great question, and thanks again for having me. Thanks for the opportunity to have me on the podcast. What inspired me to launch the business was primarily looking for additional success in my career. At the time, I was working for another IT company, another managed service provider,
Hmm.
and I was getting paid pennies on the dollar in comparison to what I could be making, and it really just made sense to me to start trying to do this myself. So I went out and I got a few of my own jobs, side jobs, while I was working on my full-time job, and my boss was all right with that, and I was able to
Hmm.
slowly transform that into a second stream of revenue, second source of income, and I grew that as much as I possibly could. And really, it was, what inspired me was the money motivation. At the time, I
Hmm.
was very young and I was very money driven. So that was the big thing for me.
You're still young, though.
Yes, I am still very young in the scope of, especially in comparison to my peers, as far as an
Yeah.
owner of an MSP. I'm definitely still on the younger side.
Hmm.
And you did mention, how did Mazzola Tech come to be? Very similar answer, as far as building those side jobs, building that client base while I was working my full-time job through
Hmm.
friends, family, business connections,
Hmm.
teachers, and expanding my LinkedIn base, really
Hmm.
just looking everywhere I possibly could to get business.
Hmm.
And I was able to grow that client base large enough where I was able to quit my full-time job in 2018.
And at what age did you start the business?
I was 21.
Yeah, damn. And how long were you in the industry before starting this business?
I started when I was 18, when I
Okay.
entered the industry, right
Yeah.
out of high school.
Okay.
I was one of the students, as opposed to going to college. I went to trade school and I
Okay.
got certified in my trade, which was computer networking at the time, Cisco networking.
Nice.
And that allowed me to get an internship while I was still in high school. And then that
Mm.
company ended up hiring me full time when I
Hmm.
graduated. So that was able, I was able to enter when I was just 18. But I've been around technology since I was a child. I, got
Mhm.
my first computer when I was 12. So.
Nice. So, as your current role in the business CEO, are you still like the technical guy, or are you just more decision-making guy? Like, what's your role in your business right now, towards the business? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I am a lot less engaged in the technical side of things
Okay.
nowadays. I have a full engineering team, and they handle
Mhm.
all of the technical aspects for the clients. I am mostly focused on sales,
Okay.
marketing, business development, long-term planning, and just making sure my customers are happy. So customer satisfaction, customer engagement, customer management. Of course, I wear a lot of hats. I'm doing the billing, the accounting, the bookkeeping, the sales, the marketing. So I'm still doing a lot of things, but the technical side is definitely not one of them.
And how was the switch to like technical to basically entrepreneur? Because like sometimes you talk with people who have the service like super good, they're able to do all the implementation, all the tech, everything, and then they start a business and they're like, I don't know how to do this, and then it just
Mhm.
crashed because it's a different animal basically. So how did you grow into that business side instead of just the technical side?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And I would say that I was able to grow into the business side very well.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very lucky in the fact that I'm very determined, I'm very disciplined, and I know
Mhm.
that even when things are tough and they don't make sense and they're hard, that you still continue to press forward and move on. Because I did have a lot of challenges when I first started my company,
Okay.
because everything I just mentioned to you, excuse me, everything I just mentioned to you I still had to do when I started the company. And when I started the
Yeah.
company, I was a one-man show. I didn't have
Hmm.
a team of engineers. So I was
Hmm.
doing all of the engineering work, all of the technical stuff, while simultaneously handling the marketing and the sales and the customer relationships and the accounting and the bookkeeping. I did it all. And it
Yeah.
was overwhelming. It was a lot. And I adapted to that, and I pushed through it. I worked hard. There was definitely challenges. There was setbacks. There was hard times,
Hmm.
but I continued to push through those. I did not let anything stop me from achieving what I wanted to build.
Nice. Did you have any mentors to like guide you into that MSP industry world?
No,
No? Just yourself
no,
and
just
basically learning
myself
books.
and wanting to make more money, wanting to be more of a success.
Nice. So coming back to like maybe the industry shift that we probably saw in the last couple of years, MSP, we saw a big change into the cloud infrastructure, cybersecurity even. What on your part did you saw like change in small and mid-sized businesses approach towards the IT services MSP side?
Absolutely. I'd say the biggest thing in the last few years has been a cloud, as you had just
Okay.
mentioned. Most people, just to give you an example, most small to medium sized businesses in the area that we're operating out of in Cleveland, Ohio,
Hmm.
most companies were operating on an internal server.
Mm.
So what that means simply is that there was a large computer box somewhere in the building, in the server room or in the internet room, and there's a bunch of cables tied to it. And most
Yeah.
people don't understand the concept of that, but what it
Hmm.
simply means is a lot of the services that your small or medium-sized business is relying upon are running in that box,
Hmm.
whether that be your data for the company or your file shares or your applications, such as QuickBooks. A lot of people
Hmm.
use QuickBooks, and the list goes on and on as to what the server could do. I already mentioned file shares, applications. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Well, a few years ago, of course, we saw the emergence of Microsoft 365,
Hmm.
where most people were running email internally on what was called Microsoft Exchange. And Microsoft said, well, we will just do it all for you in the cloud for $5 a month per email address. And that's a no-brainer. Why would I spend thousands of dollars a year to keep this server running here in the corner if I could just pay Microsoft, even if I have 20 employees?
Hmm.
Okay, it's $100 a month.
Hmm.
That's still going to be not even close to the time and materials to keep the server running. Not and keep in mind a server has a list of 5 to 7 year lifespan. So then you're talking about replacing that device every 5 to 7 years. So the cloud is really given an advantage to a lot of small and medium-sized businesses to give them the ability to say, I don't want this server anymore. Put it all in the cloud. And that could be your email, your applications, your files, your data. And I'd say that was one of the biggest shifts that we're seeing in small to medium sized businesses for IT services infrastructure. Of course, cybersecurity is huge as well. That's a whole second conversation in addition to the cloud. We
Yeah.
see a lot of people finally starting to be proactive in that now,
Hmm.
setting more secure passwords, using multi factor authentication. We offer a wide range of services on that front. We offer penetration testing, fish
Oh.
testing. We have a whole suite of security offerings for our clients, depending on how proactive they want to be with that.
Hmm. And for that cloud, what year was that coming for implementation
Mm.
around?
So the early adopters, the
Yeah.
people who were on it very early on, was around I'd say 2016,
Okay.
2017, well,
Okay.
almost 10 years ago now.
Almost. Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people were behind the ball, especially in Cleveland,
Hmm.
Ohio. It's not
Yeah.
exactly a booming tech hub. So a lot of people just moved over to it in the last 5 years.
Okay. So as of today, do you still see businesses not even having clouds and even to make that switch or
There's
really
still a
not yet?
few. There's still a few. I would say that they are becoming the minority. I would say that
Okay.
the majority of small and medium-sized businesses have seen the cloud, understood the cloud,
Hmm.
understand the advantages, and are moving towards it. I would say, maybe a few years ago, it was probably still 50-50, whereas now we're seeing more. I'd say there's a bit more on the cloud, probably like a 75% of people are on the cloud, whereas 25 are not. So they're still trying to run on their server. And of course, there are some good reasons for that. I do have some clients that prefer to run on an internal server as
Yeah.
opposed to reliance upon the cloud,
Huh.
and that's their decision. They understand it costs them the more money.
Yeah.
They understand that it's more of a business decision than it
Hmm.
is, just dollars and cents. So it makes
Okay.
more sense for their business, and we're happy to support them through that.
Okay. Is it sometime because it's more of an older generation where they're like scared of the new technology, or like why those business don't want to make that switch usually?
It's a combination of both. So it's
Okay.
definitely, people who are older that
Yeah.
are a bit apprehensive about the cloud.
Mm.
But there's also another variable when it comes into, for example, one of my clients, I can't disclose their information, but we'll
Yep.
just say they're a manufacturing company in the
Hmm.
Cleveland, Ohio area, and they've been running on an internal application that they built in the 1980s. So this application was built 40 years ago. It's
Okay.
one of the backbone applications of the company. The
Mm.
company cannot run without this application. And
Okay.
this application has been running on a server in the closet, you know, for 40 years.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So it becomes a very large conversation to say, hey, business
Yeah.
owner, let's move this to Amazon, or let's move this to
Hmm.
Microsoft, or let's move this to Google. It becomes a very large undertaking, and a lot of people in that kind of a scenario would say, I'd rather just buy a new server every 5 to 7 years,
Mm.
move the application. And they understand that it costs more to do that, but it
Hmm.
keeps everything as is untouched, and a lot of
Mm.
people prefer to go that route. So that's where that minority lives. But as you said, older age does cause a bit more apprehension in that regard as well.
Hmm. And I think you talked a little bit quickly about cybersecurity. You guys offer that service too, not just the MSPs?
We offer our service offerings to everybody,
Okay.
small, medium-sized businesses. We're also partnered with other MSPs in the area as well.
Okay. And do you think cybersecurity is a must for MSPs business now to have in their toolbox?
Oh yeah, if you don't have cybersecurity, you're asking for a disaster.
And what kind of, because you talk that's basically a brand new thing that's coming up. What kind of new technology are coming in as cybersecurity or what people kind of ask question to you guys? I think you mentioned emails a little bit, probably antivirus too. What's kind of tech in the cybersecurity that small businesses implement now that maybe did before?
So I would say if we'll go back 10 years, right?
Yep.
So it's 2015.
Yep.
And I would say at that point in time, the primary cybersecurity measures that were provided was just a simple antivirus. At the
Yep.
time, Kaspersky was the industry leader. It was a Russian-based software, so people
Mm.
used Kaspersky. Yeah, nowadays it's not so much. Um, and that was the clear leader, and a lot of people just established antivirus on an endpoint, maybe a firewall on the network, and they said, that's it. That's all we're doing.
Mm.
And of course, with the rise of ransomware,
Yep.
specifically in the last 10 years, really forced people to evolve
Hmm.
because just a firewall and antivirus is unfortunately not enough to
Hmm.
protect yourselves. And that plays a large part in cloud because we've been talking
Hmm.
about the cloud for the last 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Well, the cloud is accessible anywhere.
Mm.
If I have my company data on Amazon or Microsoft or Google, I could access that anywhere in the world. I could go to a
Mm.
website, log in, and see everything that I have. Whereas
Mm.
if I have a server internally in my office, it's a little bit more secure because you have to be at that office
Yeah.
to access that.
Hmm.
So where I'm going with this is the cloud opened up that doorway for additional cybersecurity measures that need to be taken because there's new
Hmm.
vulnerabilities, is what we would call them. Because now I could have someone halfway across the world logging into my Microsoft account, and there's nothing that I could do to stop it because it's on the cloud. So then that is a big reason why we've then reshaped our cybersecurity offerings.
Hmm.
Much stronger passwords primarily.
Yeah.
Secondarily, implementing multi-factor authentication. So if I try
Mm.
to log into any cloud-based system nowadays, it's not going to just let me log in. I'm going to
Hmm.
have an authenticator app on my phone. I'm going to receive a text code. I'm going to ensure that it's me getting into the system. We have proactive alerting so that if there's a suspicious login, for example, that will be alerted. One of
Mm.
my clients, they're based out of the Cleveland, Ohio area. And they have people that travel around. But we recently got an alert that said someone logged in from the Middle East. And we said, well, that's a little bit bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So that gives us an alert on our side. And
Mm.
then we're able to go to the office manager and say, hey, is, Bob in the Middle East? Was this a legitimate login attempt? And
Mm-hmm.
then we could, handle that from there. So it
Hmm.
gives you a lot more transparency and visibility. What I'm talking about is the tip of the iceberg, just strong passwords, multi-factor, and alerting. We do, my goodness, I mean, we're doing fish testing now. As you can imagine, if an employee gets one bad email
Yeah.
and they click one wrong link or one wrong attachment, that
Mm-hmm.
could be disastrous. So we're now
Yeah.
training employees
Yeah.
on how to navigate that, because of course
Mm-hmm.
not all employees, if I have 20 employees working for me, not all of them are going to be as technically savvy as one another, and one might
Mm-hmm.
get fooled by a spam email. So we're offering that in addition to penetration testing. So we'll actually test your network and test your infrastructure to see where the holes are. Cybersecurity, I could go on and on for quite a long time. There's really a lot of newer technologies that have
Yeah.
forced us to evolve into that cybersecurity realm.
Hmm. And would you said you train like the human to not open like emails and stuff like that? Are those human like understanding of what's the big challenges of it? Of like when you guys explain don't do this, do they actually don't know it, if you know what I mean? Like usually you see an email, you're like, logically I'm not gonna click on it. So does people like kind of understand that it's just logical to not do it, or they actually need a bit more of a context to it?
So here's a real world scenario that I'll provide you with. We had a client that received an email from someone pretending to be a vendor.
Okay.
So I'm, working at my desk job, and I get an email that appears to be from a vendor that I purchase goods and services from, that we
Mm-hmm.
regularly do business with. And they
Mm.
sent them a bill and they said, you owe us, $70,000. And
Okay.
because they work with this vendor on a very regular basis, they sent the payment. They didn't think much of it.
Hmm.
And then when they realized, when that vendor reached out and sent a second bill, they said, wait a minute, we just paid you. And
Okay.
they said, that was not us.
Huh.
So just one mistake cost that company $70,000.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that is where training the employees can save vast amounts of time and energy. That was just a scam of getting money away. If that was
Yeah.
ransomware and they clicked on the wrong thing, that could have locked all of their company files.
Yeah.
So what we do is we run phish simulations, essentially meaning we'll send every employee at the company an email that appears to be legitimate. It
Mm-hmm.
might even look like it came from me,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's a
Yeah.
test.
Hmm.
And if someone accidentally clicks on a link or an attachment on that email, it'll send them to a web page that then forces them to take a 15-minute or a 20-minute training session on educating them. So, of course, they
Yeah.
probably hate that. It's boring. No one wants to do a 15-minute training session.
Yeah.
But if it's protecting company assets and data, that 15 minutes, pays for itself. So
Oh yeah. Because that 15 minutes can cost like a hundred of thousands, if even more money
it could be
and damage
millions.
to that business in many years. Yeah, for sure. And do you think any services or any businesses now with AI, we can probably bring that subject. Are they asking it a little bit in the MSP cybersecurity world, or is it like a subject that come in a little bit, or really not at all?
So, of course, we have a lot of people using large language models like ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok. There's
Yep.
a bunch of them now, and everyone is seeming to integrate that into their day to day.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see a bit more apprehension as far as integrating it with systems. I
Yeah.
don't see a lot of interest right now, but again, it might be based on my area. Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio is not a tech hub. So
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of clients that are, eagerly jumping towards the opportunity to integrate AI into their infrastructure. But at
Right.
the same time, it's still very new. So if we go
Mm-hmm.
back 10 years, most people were not on the cloud. They were still
No.
all running internal servers. So in
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now, I think we will see a lot more of that. It'll just take some time.
Hmm. I think I just got a realization talking about the last 10 years. It's like you just talked about how cloud is kind of new for the tech space. AI just came in. Now people already talked about AI. It doesn't really speak about cloud anymore. So is there always like a change of like, because AI has been like what,
Oh, yeah.
3 years? So how do
Mm.
you guys stay like in the proper system that actually work and not just go into that like new tech of like, oh, we should probably start doing this or start selling this or just focusing on what on one.
There's always new services and features. So
Yeah.
since I've been in the industry professionally, since I was 18 years old,
Yeah.
I've seen changes many times over.
Mm-hmm.
When I entered the field, which was in 2014,
Yeah.
when I was a senior in high school, okay, we were working on decommissioning Windows XP because Windows XP was end of life in
Yeah.
2014, and we were getting everyone onto Windows 7. That was the big thing. That
Yeah.
was the big thing. And
Yeah.
now, of course, here we are now where Windows 7 has been end of life. Windows 8 has been end of life. In October of this year, Windows 10 went end of life.
Yeah.
So we've seen 3 operating systems just in the time of my professional career. If
Mm-hmm.
you want to include 11 and XP, you could say 5 operating systems. So
Yeah.
that's just one little facet. That's just operating systems.
Mm.
So we see that type of evolution with everything in tech. We see that with network infrastructure. We see that with, firewalls, network equipment, Wi-Fi. We see that with server
Mm-hmm.
equipment, on premise and in the cloud, as you mentioned. We see that with security. As I mentioned, a lot of the security items 10 years ago would have never even been implemented.
No.
Same thing with backups. Now with
Yeah.
backups, we have the ability not just to back up on site, but to back up off site, back up
Hmm.
replicas. And then, of course, now AI entering the scene. So no matter what we're talking about, there's always something new, and that's in our field. That's expected,
Mm.
and it's pretty much not to use the same word twice, but it's the expectation for it to continue to evolve.
Hmm. Nice. And what's coming to your business now that we talked a bit about the industry? What's working well for Mazzola Technology right now as of you just said you now have the engineers, you kind of to take care of all the sales, the marketing. So what's going well on the business side?
I would say it's primarily just a happy customer base. We keep our
Nice.
customers very happy. We take care of our customers. We listen to our customers, and we provide them with proactive recommendations. So I'm
Nice.
never going to force my clients into a solution. So
Hmm.
everything we just talked about, I have clients that are still running basic just antivirus, no
Hmm.
backups, no AI, no cloud, and
Hmm.
it's like they're still in 2015. And they like working with us because we will continue to support them.
Yeah.
I'll tell them, hey, you're at risk. Here's your vulnerabilities. Here's
Hmm.
where you can improve. But these are just my proactive recommendations as a
Yeah.
professional. You
Hmm.
you could take them. You don't have to take them. And a lot of my competitors force people into a contract or force people into a
Hmm.
solution, whereas Mazzola
Hmm.
Tech does not force them into that. And that's
Nice.
working really well right now for our operations, our business growth, and our client outcomes.
Hmm. Nice. And what kind of niche you guys work with in most of the time?
We actually work with everybody. So most
Everybody?
MSPs
Okay.
have a niche where they work with just manufacturing or just medical or just we work with literally everybody. I have
Nice.
clients and I'll talk with an attorney and then a truck driver and everybody in between. So
That's actually something that I got realized on one of the podcasts prior. It's like everyone is in the tech industry business
oh
without
yeah,
thinking about it. It's like the plumber is in it. The plumber has all his technology information on the internet. It's like everyone is a part of it without
yeah,
knowing about it, and everyone is at
mhm,
risk of being hacked or attacked and then just losing
absolutely,
everything. So that's
absolutely.
when I got told that, I was like, damn, that's actually that's our era now. That's actually everyone's on it, and everyone could be attacked by it. So it's like it's really weird to mind your mind around that, basically. So yeah, coming back to your business, I think you talked about the beginning of your journey was a challenge in your business being the MSP. What were those kind of challenges at those point, and what are the challenges now from the different angle
Mhm.
space?
So we've had many challenges over the years, good
Hmm.
times, bad times. You can't
Yeah,
have the good without the bad.
for sure.
So, that being said, we've had many issues as far as Client issues. We've had many clients over the years that have caused me a bit of hair loss in my receding hairline here. Difficult clients to work with that are never happy. And, I
Yeah.
learned, as I mentioned, very young when I started it. I'm still very young, but in the last 10 or 15 years, I've learned a lot of lessons as far as you can't make everybody happy.
No.
And you could try your best and that's all you can do. So that
Hmm.
was definitely a big challenge because I'm a people pleaser. I like to help people and I want to make sure people are
Nice.
getting what they want. And sometimes it's up to the client to determine if they want that. It's not up to me. So I had to learn that. That
Hmm.
was a big challenge. And also working with employees, right?
Yeah.
There's now a large enough client base to where I need to be more focused on sales and marketing and having conversations like this with you while my
Hmm.
engineers are on the phone with my clients fixing day-to-day issues. And of
Hmm.
course, not all employees work out. I've had many
No.
employees and engineers over the years, so that's been a very big challenge as well, navigating hiring employees, contractors, finding good help. And of course,
Hmm.
then that reflects on the clients. I've had some bad engineers over the years, and that has cost me a few client relationships. We've lost
Hmm.
clients based on poor engineers. So, but of course, it's a required evil. I wouldn't be able to be the size that I am if I couldn't hire engineers. So it's really a matter of you have to build it that way. But I would
Hmm.
say as far as clients and employees that have been bigger challenges. Otherwise, we have not had many issues with scaling or barriers in
Hmm.
service delivery or anything like that. We're really keen on making sure we provide everyone with the best possible service that we provide them. Our customers are first.
Hmm. I think that's usually an answer I don't get, like scaling especially. What made you guys able to like scale this easily compared to like other MSPs? Because sometimes MSPs will be like they're based on referrals, so it's like after going with new clientele, it's like hard to go, or it's just the clients don't see the value of the services. So what made you guys make that scaling easy, basically?
A lot of our growth has been primarily from two paths. The first one was I mentioned to you I entered the workforce when I was 18 from an
Yeah.
internship, and I worked at a company for 4 years full time
Hmm.
before I started my firm.
Hmm.
That company, I had a great relationship with them. I had a great relationship with their vice president and their president since I was 18,
Hmm.
and a lot of their clients preferred to work with me. So when I
Hmm.
left in 2018, quite a few of their clients actually chose to work with me as opposed to them, and they were okay with that. And I was
Hmm.
not under non-compete at the time, so I was able to take on quite a few new customers with that, and
Nice.
subsequently that business ended up closing in 2021. So
Oof.
a lot more people then came to me.
Nice.
So that was a big reason for our success.
Okay.
And secondarily, that was primary. Secondly, I would say it's our business model. Most MSPs are operating on a contract, whereas you pay, $200 a month per computer you have in the office. So
Mm-hmm.
if you've got 10 computers in that office, I'm going to charge you $2,000 a month, no matter what happens, flat fee.
Yeah.
Whereas I come in and I say, you only pay for what you use.
Okay.
Time and materials. If only, if let's say run the same scenario, you have 10 computers in the office. Instead of paying 2 grand a month as a flat fee, you're going to just pay at an hourly rate
Hmm.
for whatever you use. So if the printer breaks and it takes us 2 hours to fix it, okay, you're going to get a bill for a couple $100 and you're done. And that's the whole month because the only thing that happened all month was the printer broke. And then that
Hmm.
represents a large cost savings to my client base.
Okay.
In addition to that, I don't force people into solutions.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of MSPs will force you into a contract and say, well, you have to be on the cloud. You have to have these cybersecurity items. Whereas I come in and say, you could run whatever you want. I'm just here to give you suggestions, and I'm here when you need me. Only pay me when I'm on the phone or when I'm on the email. Only
Hmm.
pay for what you need. And I'd say between those two things, my prior employer and how our business is configured has been the lead drivers to our growth.
Nice. But how does, because usually you still have to oversee like the systems, and like we talked about cybersecurity a little bit where you kind of do like testing here and there, and then you actually looked at do like the training with the employees. So how do you put that as an hourly fee of you just basically overlooking the system as a general time, I guess, because you're basically always there for like system updates or whatever something actually doesn't go well. So does that time is like free for you guys, and then whenever you repair, then you they pay you? Like how does that work?
Yeah, precisely. So we
Okay.
definitely perform monitoring and alerting
Yeah.
for all of our clients. And I'll just give you an example here. I'm looking at our ticket system so I could give you a fresh example. So
Perfect.
here we go. So one of our clients, they're in the transportation space.
Yeah.
They have probably 40 or 50 computers in the office. And
Hmm.
one of those computers ended up having less than 1% of free disk space left. So it's running out of memory,
Okay.
right? Something we're all very familiar with. Our phones are
Yeah.
running out of memory, our computers running out of memory, right?
Hmm.
Well, we stay proactive. So
Mm.
instead of waiting for that computer to fill up and then the client calls us and saying, I can't use my computer, it's out of memory,
Yeah.
we proactively get an alert that says you're at 1% remaining.
Hmm.
And then from there, we can run a script on the computer. The client is not interrupted. We do not interrupt workflow or productivity, so they could continue to do their job. We run a script that cleans up space and junk files and temp files and empties the recycle bin and things like that to then
Hmm.
free up the space. So, just like that, in 15 minutes, we prevented an issue from happening so our client can continue working proactively. They didn't even know it happened. And at the end of the month, they just get a bill for 15 minutes that we've solved an issue
Huh.
before it even happened.
Okay. I understand. And
Yep.
they trust you that it actually something you did, and then that's basically where the confidence gets built with the client of like he's not just sending me bills that he's like, oh, we did this, but we actually didn't. Because like sometimes people won't really see what the IT guy does.
Right.
They just think you do on off and then everything works again. So they don't really
Yes.
see like the back end of it. So I guess that's where you have to basically build trust with them because at first, at first, is it long to build that trust, or it's like kind of just came in pretty
It
quick?
varies client by client. And sorry to
Okay.
interrupt you, but I understand what you're asking. It's really
Yeah.
just, it's client by client. I have some
Okay.
clients that say, Mike, do whatever you need to do, whenever you need to do it,
Yeah.
however you need to do it. Just,
Nice.
I don't want to talk to you. Just do it.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, two thumbs up. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I have other clients that say, limit your time at 30 minutes. If you
Okay.
spend more than 30 minutes on an issue, call me and we'll talk through it and determine how to move forward.
Huh.
So, and again, we work with everyone, all different sizes and shapes and colors, and whatever type of business you're running
Yeah.
will adapt to you.
Huh.
And that's where, again, we've become very popular because we have some clients very proactive. We have some clients that tell us we don't even want monitoring. They don't
Yeah.
even want us to get an alert when they're running out of space. They'd rather just call us. So we have
Hmm.
everybody on the, everyone from proactive to reactive and everyone in between. And yes, of course, it relies on quite a bit of trust with the people that are proactive. But with them, they know that at the end of the month, they're just going to get a line item bill that says, ran script to clean up the computer. And if they really want to, they could call me and I'll
Hmm.
show them that, we have a log of everything we do. We have a ticket system. So, for example, I could look at that ticket I just referred to with that computer that was running out of space, and I could see the exact time the alert came in, the
Hmm.
exact time we ran the script, what engineer ran the script, when they did it, how they did it, and then the result of the computer before and after. And all that's documented. So even if someone did want to, dig into the fine-tuned details, we could provide
It's
that to
there.
them. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. So,
Yep.
what's the big challenges for the business in the next, well, then new year, I guess, the next 6 to 12 months? So,
Yeah.
2026 goals, what is it for you guys?
Absolutely. It's growth, man. I want to continue taking on new clients, really looking to expand the client base.
Yeah.
And just get the word out there of how we do business because there's a lot of people who still don't know
Hmm.
that we are an option in the MSP space in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland is
Hmm.
actually one of the most saturated markets for MSPs in the
Okay.
country.
Yeah, then.
That's a fun fact. Most people don't know that. Cleveland, Ohio is one of the most saturated spots.
Hmm.
I'm not going to name some of my competitors, but some of my competitors are global MSPs, and they're actually based out
Mm.
of Cleveland, Ohio. So
Huh.
it's a very heavy space for MSPs. I don't know why. It just happened to be like that.
Yeah.
But it creates a very saturated market. So competition is very hard. So just looking to grow, take on new clients, and hopefully hire some new engineers.
Did,
So in 6 to 12 months from now, I'd like to have another engineer on the team, another few clients, and continue to keep that pace. And 2 years from now, two more engineers, and so on.
hmm. And did you think about maybe scaling outside of the Ohio local businesses, or that's maybe in another couple years?
I would like to, but that's more of a long term as opposed to a short term.
Yeah.
Just starting a second location where is a very large undertaking, costly undertaking.
Yeah.
So we're primarily focusing on the Cleveland, Ohio area right now. Columbus as well. We do have some clients in the Columbus area.
Okay. Nice. So what's basically the action plan on achieving that goal? You said maybe is it like marketing or what's the plan to get those new clients basically?
It is marketing. It's
Yeah.
primarily Google ads, Meta ads, LinkedIn ads. We've run billboards, we run postcards, flyers,
Mm-hmm.
word of mouth. We
Yeah.
incentivize our current client base to refer us customers. I use LinkedIn quite heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, things like this, doing podcasts with people like yourself, just staying relevant, staying out there. We were recently featured in the International Business Times.
Nice.
We're also being featured in a magazine coming up
Hmm.
soon. Podcasts like this, it's really just everything I could do. If I
Yeah.
could think of it, we're doing it.
Hmm. Nice. So before we close, for listeners who maybe wants to like reach you on your side or your business, where could they best reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So they could reach me many ways, primarily mazzolatech.com is our website, or they could just give me a call, 440-742-1083, and just press option one for sales, and you'll get a conversation with me free of charge. We'll talk about pain points in your business, how we can help, what we can improve, and see if we're a good fit for your company. Of course, you could send me an email as well at contact@mazzolatech.com.
There you go. So thanks again, Mike, for your time. This was a great conversation.
Awesome. Thank you very much.